this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode. Now, today's podcast episode, I want to talk about a lesson that's really, really important. And if you don't get this in your head, you're not going to be successful. You know, this may be the most important video or the most important podcast episode you're going to listen to today, because if you don't get this right, you're going to give up. You know, this passion business, this online business, whatever it is you're looking to achieve, you're not going to achieve it unless you get this lesson in your head. So, what is the big lesson today, Barry? Well, as the title of this podcast episode was, trouble at the border. And that's what you're going to find. You're going to find trouble at the border. Because right now there is a border between what you want to achieve and the physical world. You know, we have your dreams, your goals, your fantasies, all those things. But how do we get it to go over here to be cash in your hand? So you actually need to take what's over here, you need to travel across the border to bring it into the physical world. Because while it's all good having fantasies, you know, I can sit here, I can close my eyes, I can imagine cash coming to me, I can imagine people listening to my podcasts, I can imagine, you know, money going into my PayPal account and my life being brilliant and me traveling all over the world. I can do that right now. And that is so easy. You just close your eyes. There's no effort. Everything is just lovey-dovey and, you know, everything's candy floss and beautiful. And there's no effort in that. And you're going to find that while that is brilliant, you can sit over here all day in this fantasy world. But if you don't actually start taking action on it, you're not going to break through this border to get over to the reality of that thing. You know, we want to get the fantasy of maybe, you know, financial freedom on this side. We need to create it on this side, in the physical world. Because, I don't know about you, but my bank manager doesn't accept fantasies, doesn't accept wishes, doesn't accept, you know, all these different goals. That's no good to them. They would be more interested in the cash that I could bring in from those goals and fantasies. And that's what you need to think about. You need to think about what it's going to take to go from here over to here. Now, the reason I'm giving you this podcast episode early in the series of these episodes is because I want to make you aware of what you're going to come up against. Because the more you know about your enemy, the better you'll be prepared to face it. But it'll also open your eyes up to what's going to happen. You know, you might find and say to yourself, well, this isn't worth it. You know, I'm not going to put in all this effort of doing all these actions to achieve that. I'm going to find something easier to do. So I would rather maybe that right now, maybe you just ask yourself, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to turn this into this? Or are you happy just to stay over here like the majority of people do and never take any action on it? Because the majority of people have dreams, they have fantasies, but how many of them actually take action on it? You know, when I wrote my first Kindle book, and when people found out that I had published a book on the Kindle store, a lot of people used to ask me, well, Barry, how do you do it? How do you write a book? And me, stupidly, naive at the time, gave them the whole thing. I would tell them, well, this is how I come up with my storyline. This is how I come up with my characters. This is how I find time to write the book. This is how I came up with the book cover, where I got it designed. This is what I did with the manuscript, uploading it to the Amazon Kindle store. This is what I did. They gave me the money. And what I did was I just laid out step after step after step after step. Now, after spending maybe 20 minutes or maybe half an hour explaining all the steps in detail, which someone could take and go off and publish their book, I was usually met with this at the end of the conversation. Oh, that's a lot of work. Oh, I don't think I could do that. You know, that's okay for you. You're a younger person, but me as an older person, I haven't got great knowledge about computers, and, you know, that sounds a lot difficult and something I couldn't do. And that used to disappoint me after going through all that, explaining and telling them the exact same steps that I took for them to do that. And that is because, as I said, everybody has fantasies, but not everybody is willing to put the action in. Now, right now, as we're watching the Olympics, you know, you probably see people who are just couch potatoes, who are probably looking at people who are, you know, earning gold or getting gold medals in different events. And they're thinking to themselves, well, you know, I used to do that. I used to be good at that, or I could do that. But really, the reason that person is in the Olympics on the gold on the on the platform collecting their gold medal is because they put the work in to get there. So going back to the trouble at the border, you're going to find that if you're going to bring this about, it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of effort to get it over here, to get the physical results of what you want to get. Now, what I want you to think about, again, as I mentioned in an earlier episode of this podcast episode, is having a strong why is going to help you. Because you're going to find that as you bump up against things that are difficult to do, you're going to find that if you haven't got a strong enough reason to do it, you're not going to do it. Because your why is going to be the fuel that's going to motivate you, that's going to inspire you, and that's going to make you come back again and again and again to create content, to try give it another go. Even if you had failed, put in another effort. Because your why is leading you forward. You're thinking to yourself, well, my why is because I want my kids to have a better life. I want to take them to Disneyland and not worry about how much money I have in my wallet. I want to give them the best day ever. Or I want my kids to live in a better house than I have. I want my kids to live in a house that we own, or in a different town or a different city. I'm sure you can see that the stronger your why is, the more it's going to keep you focused on the end result. And as I said, a lot of people bump up against this, trouble at the border. And because they haven't got a strong enough why, they just give up. They just turn tail and just drop all the tools and just walk away and say, well, it's too hard. I couldn't do it. I couldn't achieve it. And that's because their why wasn't strong enough. Whereas if they were thinking about the end result of actually having the cash, of being able to treat their kids, of the new home, of the new place they're going to be living in, and kept their eyes over there, that would help them get across the border to achieve what it is you're looking to achieve. Now, even in my own case here, the things that we might be bumping up against now aren't just in our online business. Because you're going to find, if you go back through your life, there has been moments in your life when you wanted to achieve something and it was a lot harder than you thought it was going to be. Even my own case here, this house that I'm living in. You would be thinking it would be easy just to buy a house. But I remember when we tried to buy the house, we had to go around all the different places. We had to ask for mortgages and being turned down for mortgages and trying again and again, and then eventually getting the money and then having trouble with the builder, and then there was this problem and that problem and the other problem. And I remember thinking, as we were kind of midway between the fantasy of having the house to actually owning the house, I remember in the middle of this thinking to myself, why the hell are we doing this? When we used to rent a house, it was a lot more easy. You just gave the landlord cash and, and here we are stressing out. We were fighting. Me and my wife were fighting and arguing because of all the things we were going through. And at the time I think to myself, is it really, really worth it? But eventually we stuck with it and I'm living in the house that we're in right now. But in the middle part of that was so difficult. And I'm sure there's moments in your life too where there was something you wanted to achieve, but it was really difficult until you got there. Maybe something simple as maybe learning to ride a bike or driving a car. The fantasy was in your head of riding a bike or driving a car, but to actually physically get out on the road, there was a gap. There was a border that you needed to cross. And you probably found it difficult. You probably find maybe learning to drive a car, there was a lot of headaches, a lot of stress. You had all the lessons, all the mistakes you made. You maybe had to go back get insurance, and then when the big day came with the driving lesson, maybe you failed the driving test, and you had to go back and do another driving test, or maybe another driving test. So you were just going through hassle after hassle after hassle to actually get there. Now, right now, you're probably there with your driving license, or you're probably there able to ride your bike. But as I said, in the middle part here, between the two, was the most difficult thing. Turning that fantasy into reality. And as I said, that's what I want to make you aware of, because you're going to find that. You are going to find it so tough. And if you haven't got a strong enough why, if you haven't got a strong enough reason, why would you sit down and make the videos? Why would you try and build a following on social media? Why would you show up here on camera? Why would you get outside your comfort zone? Why would you do that unless you're doing it for a strong enough reason pulling you forward, pulling you across the border? Now, the thing is, you right now, as you're building your business, your passion business, you probably think yourself, well, I'm the only one going through this. You probably have seen maybe fancy sales letters where this person says, oh, after 6 weeks I was making an absolute fortune. And, all these, everybody else is bragging on social media saying it's so easy to do this. I'm making money. Money is coming to me. It's passive income and blah, blah, blah. All the lies that we're fed. And it's easy for us to think that we're the only one. How the hell is it so hard for us when everybody else finds it so easy? But the thing is, it's not easy. And the thing is, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. If it was easy for everybody to have a six-pack, everybody would have a six-pack. If it was easy for everyone to have $1 million, everybody would have $1 million. If it was easy for everybody to have an online account, bringing in passive income 24/7, everybody would be doing it. And that's what you need to drum into your head, that what you're about to do is going to be something that the majority of people won't do. They won't even attempt it. They won't even turn this fantasy or even try and get close to the border. They'll just stay here in this fantasy land and never actually take action. So you're not the only one that's going to go through it. We all go through it. Now, how long you'll need to be bumping up against this border, this trouble at the border, I don't know. It depends on you. It depends on your knowledge. It depends on your effort. It depends probably on how much you want it. That is probably going to determine how long you're going to spend between these 2 points. But you're going to spend time at that border. You're going to spend time in this, as I call it, lost in the wilderness. You're traveling around and the vultures are circling around your head and you're out in this desert and you're just on the verge of giving up. You're going to find a lot of time out there. You're going to spend being confused, not knowing, feeling that you're not getting anywhere, that you're a loser, that, all the little voice is going to kick in. You're going to get this monkey chatter in your head that's telling you it shouldn't be this hard. It should be easy. Everybody says it's easy to make money online. So why is it so difficult? What am I doing wrong? And you're going to doubt yourself. You're going to walk around in that desert, but be aware. You will be in that desert for a while. But if you stick with it and if you keep going, you will get across that border. Now, what I'm going to say to you is that even though you get over the border, maybe the goal you have right now could be maybe something simple as maybe earning $1,000, extra $1,000 a month from an online business. So we have this fantasy and then we have the reality of making $1,000 a month. Now you can be guaranteed that when you actually take this, transfer it over and have it here, you're going to find that if you go back and say to yourself, well, you know what, I'd like to make $2,000 a month. I'd like to make $3,000 a month. What you need to remind yourself is you are going back here again. You're going back to this fantasy that is going to have more trouble at the next border before you can get through it. And we constantly need to do that. It's not a kind of one and done where you just, you had this moment where you stretch yourself, you got outside your comfort zone, you got the end result, and then it's all hunky-dory. You're going to find that if you do want to push yourself a little bit more, it's going to be over here again, and you're going to have to take that journey. You're probably going to have to put in more effort. Maybe not as much effort as the last time, because maybe you've got some momentum going. You're like that rocket. You're already, way up in the sky. You're not launching off the ground. But you're probably going to have to take maybe another stretch, where maybe you might have to take another stretch outside your comfort zone, where you might have to maybe gain some more knowledge, where you might have to maybe, learn some new skills or whatever it is to actually get there. So it mightn't be as hard as what it is in the beginning, but you're going to find that that border is still going to be there between the two, because what you're doing is you are forcing something that doesn't exist, that is just a fantasy, an idea, and what you're doing is you are forcing that across the border into the physical result. So as I said, I wanted to let you know about this because too many of us here come online, we look at the stuff on social media, we see a couple of sales letters that make it seem like it's so easy, that everybody's making money online. So we just say, well, I'm going to make money online too as well. And then we have this trouble at the border, that if we don't know that it's there, feel that it's just us, that we're just not good enough, or feel that it shouldn't be that hard, or feel that, something, it's not worth it. So that's why I wanted to lay down this track for you, where I am laying down all the pieces that you need to be aware of, because I want you to be aware of what you're getting into, because it's going to be difficult. You're going to question yourself. You're going to doubt yourself. You're probably going to cuss yourself for actually starting the journey that you're on. But be aware that that trouble on the border is waiting for you. And it's no reflection on you. It's nothing to do with your talent or your ability or that you're the only one. We all go through it. And as I said, if you look back in your life, you will find there was things you really wanted in the past. Things that at one point didn't seem like they were going to work out. That you just had hassle after hassle, struggle after struggle, effort after effort, and then eventually you broke free. You broke free of the ground with your little rocket and you got over to the end result that you wanted to get. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I'd love to know if you have any comments, thoughts. Please do feel free to leave them below. If you would like me to answer any questions in this podcast, again, feel free to leave any comments or any questions. I'd love to hear what you're thinking and what you think of the podcast. And as always, have a lovely day. Take care of yourself and bye-bye.